Coming up on this episode of Discover Health Podcast.
Think of it like a metronome on a piano, the tick tock, tick tock. So GABA's job is to provide steady rhythm to everything in the body that it can. Not too fast, not too slow, not too much, not too little.
Welcome to the Discover Health Podcast, where we explore the power of gut health, nutrition, and lifestyle to help you feel your best every day. I'm Dr. Josh Sharp, your guide on this journey to better digestion, more energy, and overall well-being. Ready to start discovering? Let's hit the trail. Welcome back to another episode of Discover Health Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Joshua Sharp, and joining me today is Beverly Meyer. Beverly is a board-certified clinical nutritionist who has been practicing natural health since 1985 and working on her own healing journey since the 1970s. She's the host of the long-running Primal Diet Modern Health podcast and is particularly known for her work on sleep, anxiety, adrenal health, and salivary hormone testing. Through her website, undiagnosed.com, Beverly shares hundreds of practical articles and resources to help people upgrade their food, sleep, and hormones for a happier, more comfortable life. Beverly, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, thank you. That was a great intro. Good job.
Absolutely. I wanted to, give you all the credits and everything that you deserve. I know that you've been doing this work. You've been doing podcasting. I think you said for 14 years. That's amazing. I didn't even know what a podcast was until probably a year and a half ago. And now it's crazy. I have my own podcast. So I'm a little behind the times. You're way ahead of things.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. I mean, I didn't really know. I'm not a technical kind of person, but I got a phone call from a group that said, "Hey, we're starting up a lot of health podcasts. Will you want to be on?" And I was on their podcast for a while, and I said, "Why am I doing that? I'll just do my own podcast. Thanks very much."
Exactly. Yeah. Why talk about what other people want to talk about when you can talk about what you want to talk about? So, speaking of you, I know that you've been actually working in natural health since the 1980s, but I also know that your personal health journey started even earlier than that with chronic health issues that you struggle with on your own. Can you share how your own struggles with chronic health issues have led you to the work that you're doing now?
Yes, back in the 70s, I was a college student, and I was sick and with something, and I was at Duke University. I went to the famous Duke Medical Center, and they were just really no help at all, and it was really frustrating. And a friend of mine said, this is a little different, but this was at the very dawn of the natural health movement, if you will, in the 70s. Natural foods, natural health, more natural, the ecology, all this was just coming in. And she said, go see this guy. He's not a doctor, but I found he was really helpful. So I did see this person. We did what we now call muscle testing, our diagnostic response technique, and I've been doing that for forever. And he was able to help me in a short period of time, and that really opened my eyes that, well, if this person who doesn't have a medical degree or even a medical office can be useful and helpful and so quickly, then what else do I not know, and where else should I be looking for information? And so I've been on a quest for people that know what they're talking about and are able to communicate it to you. And that is a hard thing to find, because now with the internet, of course, there's everybody saying everything, and you have to be really keen on how to look at a website and see, okay, what's up with this person? Or are they just here to sell this miracle cure pill? Or, what are they up to here? And can I get valid information here or not?
Yeah, that can be so tricky, as you pointed out. Everybody can make it sound like they know what they're talking about, but it's quite a different thing to actually know what you're talking about. And I always say, if you find a doctor that has all the answers, or they tell you they have all the answers, run the other way, because that tells you for sure not only do they not have all the answers, but they're not humble enough to seek help or seek any extra guidance or to learn anything new. And so run away. Run away from that person. You often talk about the foundations of health being food, sleep, hormones. And so, from your own perspective, how widespread are sleep problems, first of all? And then, second of all, how widespread is anxiety? I know that's one of the things that you talk about so often. And what are some of the patterns that you see that may connect those two?
Well, first off, I start all my clients with very in-depth work on what they eat, when they eat, how they sleep, when they sleep, what is their diet and lifestyle? Because I'm not here to just tell people, oh, go take a pill or, go do this. I need to understand people's chemistry. And that's the key, I think, why I've been so helpful to so many people for so long, is that a lot of what's on the website and what's in my head is my own experience and my own learning. Like, oh, that's interesting. I found out that is related to the gallbladder. Let me look this up. And wow, this symptom is related to the gallbladder. And then I would write an article and do a podcast on that topic, for example. So to me, when someone comes, they'll shoot me an email. Hey, I have chronic migraines and I break out in shingles or get a cold sore or this or that. And can you help me? And I say, yes, but I'm going to ask you to work for solution. So it's not about just, as you know, it's not about just handing people a supplement or two or having an adjustment or two, and now everything's fine. So if you want to make big changes in your body, what you're asking me when you email or call me is, can you change my chemistry? That's what people are actually asking. And the best way to approach big chemistry, like every cell of your body, is what you eat, what you drink, what you smell and breathe, how you think, and how you sleep. They're a million times more powerful than a handful of pills twice a day. So that's why, yes, strong work on food, and I want to know how people are sleeping and what they're doing. Anxiety happens to be a common issue that people ask about, but would you like me to talk a little bit about my observations about sleep first?
Yeah, let's jump into sleep a little bit more first, and then we can kind of, weave our way to anxiety and kind of connecting those two things.
Okay, great. Well, so I'm in my 70s and I've developed chronic headaches during the night about 10 years ago. So it's been a long struggle. Why am I getting these headaches at night? I don't get them when I'm in the day, but I get them at night. And I saw so many doctors and practitioners, neurologists, and had MRIs and hormones and dentists and orthodontists and Rolfing practitioners and osteopaths and ocular specialists for migraines and chiropractic. I don't know if I said that, but on and on and on, trying to figure out what's going on that I get these headaches at night that wake me up. And this past year, I went to my primary and said, would you please order an at-home sleep test for me? I want to see if maybe my blood pressure is dropping at night. So I'm a big believer in experimenting on yourself. Give it, identify a problem, approach with some sort of possible suggestion or solution, make notes, keep a journal, make one change at a time. See, how did that work? Well, it seemed to work great for 2 nights and then it didn't for a week. Okay, well, then who knows? That was maybe a coincidence. So I then was diagnosed with sleep apnea, which is the one thing I was certain I didn't have. Because I've been taping my mouth using the proper kind of mouth tape for sleeping. I've been taping my mouth at night for 15 years. So I knew that I wasn't snoring. And in my own mind, I had equated snoring with sleep apnea. So that's the first point I want to make, is that children, men, women, underweight, overweight, uh, humans in general can struggle with sleep apnea and not know it. And
Right.
it can be a very silent disorder unless you have a sleeping partner, a bed partner, who brings it to your attention. You are snoring like crazy, or I hear you stop breathing in the night sometimes, or you wake up coughing and gasping. So that might have been a clue, but I don't have a sleep partner and might tape my mouth so I don't snore. So that was a surprise, and that started me into a journey that I'm still fairly new in after 4 or 5 months of understanding my sleep apnea and the tricks on how to treat it properly with very the new CPAP masks are very different. They're little tiny things that just kind of fit over the end of your nose. The whole thing of, the giant
The big
thing on your
mask.
face. I mean, a lot of people have been on those masks for years, and that's what they're comfortable with. But for those of us that are new, don't be frightened. There's some quite small masks. So anyway, but in the process of this, I learned that, number one, undiagnosed sleep apnea, or sleep apnea, is the largest undiagnosed medical condition in the United States. So there's literally tens of millions of people, men, women, and children, who are not breathing properly when they sleep and don't know it. And for those of you listening to Dr. Joshua's show, then sometimes some little clues with younger persons, children. If you've had experience with bedwetting, that's actually one of the warning signs or whatever, that they're not breathing right. And there's a very complex relationship between urinations and the kidney bladder function at night and oxygen. It's extremely complex, but it's one thing I noticed right away when I started on a CPAP, that I didn't have to get up at night to use a restroom. It's like, I've gotten up at night, use a restroom for decades, and you don't have to. It's really interesting. So bedwetting may be a tip that your youngster needs to be checked out. And of course, they may have enlarged tonsils, deviated septum, something called turbinates, which are in the back of the nose, all of that. So first thing to do is have an ENT check all that in your youngster to make sure that that they can breathe right, that things are not swollen back there. So that's step number one.
Hey, friends, if you're dealing with Lyme, chronic fatigue, or ongoing health struggles, and you feel stuck no matter what you try, we want to invite you to something special.
We're hosting a free live training where we break down why so many moms stay stuck and what actually has to change in your body for healing to begin.
This is the same terrain-based approach that helped Ginger go from exhausted and overwhelmed
To having energy again and living fully with our family.
If that sounds like what you've been looking for, just scroll down and grab the registration link in the episode description.
We'd love to see you there.
Yeah.
In terms of, sleep apnea, obviously this is not something that you felt like you would struggle with before. And then, you said just for the last 10 years or so. What are some factors that might be contributing to this developing, all of a sudden, or kind of showing up when before it wasn't there? What do you think is some of the factors that are behind that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, age is definitely one of the top 6 or 8 factors in persons you might think have sleep apnea. So as you get older, things are more droopy back there, and so we're more likely for the tongue to lay back when we sleep, and cutting off the airway. So that is one reason why age is a pretty common factor, that as we get older. Yep. And 10 years ago, I would have been in my 60s. So yeah, collagen and all that are not as firm in holding up the tongue. So that's one. But I want to clear up a picture that if I mention sleep apnea to a random person and I'll say, okay, quick, close your eyes and think of a picture of a person that might be the person who's diagnosed with sleep apnea. What does that person look like? And 100% of people will say, it's an overweight white male who snores and maybe smokes. And that's the picture we have in our mind of who gets sleep apnea. And from the doctor's point of view, this is why so many of us are undiagnosed, is because I'm a slim female, and so that just never occurred to all these fancy specialists I went to that, nighttime headaches, that's one of the top symptoms of sleep apnea. It's not the top, but it's definitely near there. So right off, I want to encourage everybody that you don't have to be an overweight male with a thick neck. That's not that's not the dynamic of. I mean, they may well have sleep apnea, but so does a lot of other people. So that's important to know. And if you have a sleep partner, then that's really helpful to pay attention to their breathing, their snoring. If they wake up with a jerk and cough or snort or, like, whoa, what's happening over there? Then they should definitely have their doctor run a home sleep test. You don't have to go to the sleep study. You can do really sophisticated ones at home in your own bed if you want, and get diagnosed. And it's anyway, so I'm very passionate about this now that it was such a surprise to me, and anyway, it's not totally easy. I mean, what works for me is not going to work for you. What works for me one night may not work the next night. It's definitely got a learning curve, but you can track your stats, and it's like, oh wow, that was a really good night. I didn't have the stopping of breathing hundreds of times a night. And that's what we're talking about, literally hundreds of times a night that we stop breathing for 5, 10, 15, 20, 60 seconds or more. And your blood oxygen just drops every time. And of course, we don't do well without oxygen.
Not typically. No, that's right. It's kind of essential. It can be very important. So in terms of night to night, what are some factors that can contribute to the differences of why one night was better and why another night was worse, especially considering, the thought process that, oh, well, there's just sagging tissue. Well, the tissue wouldn't be different from night to night necessarily. There's probably other factors involved there, right?
Yes, very good question. One is in many cases we have underdeveloped chins, so we have a slightly recessive chin. I'm one of those. So I have a small chin and it's slightly recessed. So the likelihood that things will just immediately droop back and close off the airway are much higher that way. So that's one factor, and that's why there's a whole industry of sleep dentistry. And these are dentists that are 100% committed to, yes, let's see your sleep test. If you don't have one, let's run one. And let's try you with a particular kind of sleep mouth guard, not just like a dental regular retainer thing, but one that actually pulls your jaw forward a little bit while you sleep. It holds it forward while you sleep. And this pulls the tongue forward and it keeps it from collapsing. So there's that. The other thing is positional apnea, meaning you rolled on your back and you tucked, you slid off your pillow and tucked your chin. And if you do that, you're probably going to have some impact on your airway. It's better if you sleep on your side, because when you're on your side, you can lift your own chin up on the pillow and keep your chin up. Some people wear a soft cervical collar to keep their chin up. So sleeping on your back is the not good way to sleep, but I have a contour bed and I sleep on my back. So, that's not going to change. But so from night to night, yes, you might toss and turn. You might knock your mask a little bit, non-adjusting properly, like that. So there's lots of things going on at night, and you look at your stats, you're like, whoa, what just happened? And sometimes you're like, wow, those are bad stats. I don't know why. So that's why I say there is a definite learning curve here.
Yeah, and I think one important thing to consider is it's not always just, anatomical. There's other factors involved. As you mentioned, there's swelling and inflammation that can take place in the airway and your nasopharynx, like in the opening of your nasal passages and the opening of your throat. And so considering even like things that you've eaten that day, considering things that you've been exposed to, considering other things that could contribute to inflammation in your airway may also be something to think about. And so I love the idea that you talked about of keeping a log and paying attention and night to night trying to figure out what factors might be related to why this condition is happening and why some nights are better than others and some nights are you know really bad, and sometimes you might discover it's something unexpected that's in your environment, or maybe something unexpected that you were eating or you were exposed to, things like that. I know
Well,
that. Go ahead.
let me just say, add to that, because you're correct. You're absolutely right. That the other two other things you want to really look at is having your cat or dog that is in bed with you or has spent the day sleeping on your pillow. So, you're breathing the dander and the pet allergens, and that can definitely be a problem as far as inflammation in the sinuses and the throat and so on. And the other is, and this is, I don't like that it's true, but it seems to be true, is that humans don't process dairy products very well. I mean, we all have heard the phrase they're mucus. Well, they actually are mucus, but they generate, in a lot of people, they generate mucus and swelling and congestion all in the sinuses and the throat and the lungs. And a lot of people just don't tolerate dairy very well. And except the most tolerant dairy are the dairy fats like butter and ghee and heavy cream. So people say, oh, but I have skim milk in my coffee. I say, well, throw that out and put a little bit of heavy cream in there instead. But a lot of people just don't do well with dairy products, and that is a definite trial for individuals and their families and so on. And I ask my clients of this. I'm like, okay, let's try this. Let's see how you do with a week or two with no milk, no ice cream, no whey powdered smoothies, no yogurt, and you can use the fats, the butter and the ghee and the heavy cream, but not much else from dairy. And just see in general, how's your digestion? How's your breathing? How's your sleep? Just in general, how are you doing? Reflux is a big one too for dairy. And then after a trial of 1, 2, 3 weeks, then go on and eat dairy all week. Have yogurt and ice cream and whatever it is that you're having, and you'll notice if there's, oh, wow, okay, I had to blow my nose 25 times a day. That's a clue. And you can repeat, I'm sure you've taught this on your websites, that we have to experiment on ourselves repeatedly. And we do want to experiment on ourselves. And the best way to do that is to make a change and observe what's happening, and then unchange it, if you will, after a period of time, and see how you react.
Yeah, it's a great piece of advice. And honestly, elimination-provocation diets are actually the most accurate way to tell if you do have a sensitivity to a particular food. So eliminating and then testing again after a period, giving your body time to kind of clear everything out. A couple weeks usually is a great way to do that. And I know, especially for practitioners that work with people that have, Hashimoto's, and they suspect gluten intolerance, or they suspect a gluten sensitivity, that's a great way for them to get a clue if that's a piece of the puzzle there for people with thyroid issues and everything like that. Now, I know, staying on the sleep topic for just a little bit, you've become known for working with sleep and working with people that have some sleep difficulties. There's a particular factor that I've heard you talk about before, and that's GABA. And
Ah.
so for those of us that may not have heard of it before, how does this influence our ability to relax? How does it influence our ability to sleep? And what is GABA? We should start with that, maybe.
Yes, and how it impacts anxiety
Yeah,
also.
absolutely.
Well, and one of the articles, I have a lot of articles and podcasts on my website about GABA, GABA, and one of them is GABA, the forgotten neurotransmitter. So, um, so there are four dominant neurotransmitters that pretty much run the show for us. Two that are what I call go-go neurotransmitters, and two that I call slow neurotransmitters. And it's not that one makes you fall asleep and one makes you speedy, but it's the balance of go and slow, just like driving a car. You can't be all brakes, you can't be all gas. So GABA and serotonin are the two dominant inhibitory neurotransmitters in our bodies. Inhibitory sounds like a bad thing, but it's if you're spilling the milk, it's not a bad thing to stop spilling the milk. So we need inhibition when something in the body is out of rhythm, it's too fast, it's too slow. We're angry, we're anxious, we have PMS, we have headaches, we're not digesting our food, we're angry, we have anxiety, we have some phobias, we're shy, we sweat. There's so many things that GABA and serotonin govern. It's just absolutely staggering. And this was another key piece in my health journey when, long story, but made very short, about 15 years ago, I just pretty much had, I don't know what happened, but I began having a lot of anxiety issues. I couldn't sleep well. I couldn't eat well. I couldn't work. Everything was just too much. Like, I didn't want to answer a phone. I took my phones off the hook, and I didn't want to answer a phone because when you answer a phone, you have to do something. You have to reply or take an action of some kind. And it was really bad. I took a year off of work. I just walked away from my own clinic, and on good days, I'd check in and do groceries. But at some point, I went to a very unusual neurologist who's out of practice now, and he said, "You have no GABA neurotransmitter in your brain. Your brain scans are like empty of neurotransmitter GABA." And that was the first I'd ever heard about it. So then, okay, so as an inhibitory neurotransmitter, think of it like a metronome on a piano, the tick tock, tick tock. So GABA's job is to provide steady rhythm to everything in the body that it can. Not too fast, not too slow, not too much, not too little. And the way the medical community knows GABA is through epilepsy, which of course is where the brain is, that metronome is fast, fast, slow, 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 fast, 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 slow, slow, fast. That's the brain. The speed signals in the brain are all messed up, and prescription GABA has been used for that for decades. But there are forms of non-prescription GABA that work quite well for sleep and general anxiety, and even things like I say, reflux and sweating and some menstrual issues and some low key kind of phobias and things. And I just think that we are all so stressed out and overwhelmed in our world of things that we have to do, or there are consequences, and worrying about family and planet and whatever. We didn't spend time as hunters and gatherers with this much stress on us. And we talk about stress, but I'm talking about really what's stressing us. It's this overwhelm of noises and sights and sounds and activities and dangers of mortgage and all of this stuff. So we all tend to, I think, have pretty much low GABA.
Can you give me some ideas of, just some other symptoms or some things that people might be struggling with if they have imbalanced GABA or if they have low GABA? Like, what are they feeling? What types of things are going on in their life, or what symptoms would they notice?
Well, first of all, if you're listening to this podcast and you're human, it's a strong possibility that you could use a little GABA support. We know that serotonin prescriptions have been around for decades. Doctors put people on SSRIs to kind of cure all things. Serotonin is a close relative of GABA, but it's not the same thing. It's quite different. It strikes a different part of the brain. So literally any symptom, I mean, for sure, anxiety and sleep and depression also, although serotonin's more known for depression, GABA's more known for anxiety. And by using that term anxiety, I'm also talking about what I was just speaking about, that sense of overwhelm, the too busy brain and the fatigue of handling things and needing to, we don't sleep well, or we wake up in the night, have a hard time going back to sleep because the mind kicks in, where we can lose our temper too easily. Vomiting and reflux even can be signs of low GABA. But mostly I try to focus in on, tired, busy people that are stressed out from the cares of life, and and that it's worth trying a little non-prescription GABA and see how you like it, and how it helps you just settle down in your day and in your night.
It sounds like there's so many possible symptoms, and there's a lot of different things that people might notice if they are struggling with low GABA. Besides just stress, are there any other factors to consider when it comes to low GABA, things that could be contributing to that?
Here's another way to look at it. We have two nervous systems, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Our sympathetic nervous system is only like a small part of us. The parasympathetic, which is the relax, get it done, go skin your rabbit, go take a nap. You might even have a baby. You might do this. You've got things to do and work to be done. But you're not in imminent danger of your life. Excuse me. That's what our sympathetic nervous system is for: perceived threat. So, for example, you're taking a walk and you see a stick or something on the ground. Well, you immediately, your eyes or your pupils are going to dilate. You're going to focus. Oh, is that a snake? It's just instant. You can't think about it. It's instant. And then your eyes focus and it's a stick. So we're constantly in life literally looking, is it a snake or is it a stick? Is that a bear coming out of the woods, or is that the gardener coming out of the woods? I know that's a crazy example, but think about our wiring in our brain. And anxiety is a state where we are not controlling well our own looking at and thinking about what we see and hear and think. And so we're letting our minds get a little too into the, oh no, if he's late, I wonder if Bob has lost his job, and because his boss was kind of mean last time, and if he lost his job, we might lose the house, and it's like, whoa, wait a second, that you're way ahead of yourself. And it's something I try to encourage my clients, that you want to observe what you are thinking and learn to manage that and use your rational mind to understand and follow through and keep those stress levels under control. A lot of them are self-created.
Yeah, they can be. And I think, as you pointed out, your nervous system really activates whether that's a life or death threat, like somebody slams on their brakes in front of you and you have to snap into action and quickly slam on your brakes. Your heart rate goes up and your pupils dilate and your body gets ready to take that quick action. But also emotional stress. So, and like you talked about, thought patterns activate those same nervous system responses. And so that stress response turns on because that's the stress response that your body has, whether it's from thoughts, whether that's from, an actual life or death situation. And when that happens repeatedly over and over and over again, then unfortunately, that just becomes like such a trained response, and your body can snap there so quickly. I really like that you have emphasized food first in the past, and using, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food, I think is a great thing to apply here. But what are some of the easiest changes that people can make in their daily life, whether that's food or whether that's other things, to support their natural GABA system day to day?
Well, as I said, GABA is all about that the regularity of life. Getting up, going to bed at the same time, eating at the same time. We are circadian dominated creatures, like all creatures. Possums wake up when it gets dark, and we're supposed to fall asleep when it gets dark, and not have blazing fluorescent lights and LED lights and blue lights everywhere, disrupting our circadian rhythm and inhibiting our melatonin production. And so the first thing is I ask my clients to look at and adopt a food timing schedule. And for most women, I feel women need to eat 4 times a day, 3 hearty meals, and then a smaller snack. But it's not like just grab an apple snack. It's still going to have a little protein, a little fat. So it's like 3 main meals and a mini meal. So I encourage all my clients to eat heartier meals the way that our biology is used to eating. So we are used to eating fully pastured, healthy, organic poultry and animals and fish and so on. So I think we need good quality protein. We need the fats from those healthy meats. We need those saturated fats. And we also can make good use of coconut oil. It's an excellent fat that's easy to digest, that obviously did not come from an animal, but it's a very high quality fat that keeps us satiated and full, but energized and aware. And I find this is why my first focus with clients is, and my podcast motto is food first, that before we jump into drugs, surgery, supplements, whatever, let's take a strong look at how you're nurturing yourself. And it's, of course, particularly true with women, that many women are under eating, that it's just a trope at this point that women kind of have it in their heads that they need to under eat if they want to have a prettier figure or a healthier heart, or that it's the right thing to do for everything is to not eat very much. And I am the anti-hunger practitioner. I want people to eat wonderful, hearty meals and feel satisfied and energized from them. And it's tremendously helpful when you don't have an afternoon fatigue, but you do have good energy during the day and you can focus. So I'm perfectly happy having my pasture-raised beef or bison stew in the morning and with grilled zucchini and steamed asparagus that I made yesterday or the day before. So if I may, I have a free ebook on my website that I find it really helpful. It's only 16 pages. I encourage people to print it out. And this gives how I have eaten and cooked and eaten for 25 years. And the basis of that is that if you can, here are your groceries, here's your meats and your produce, and it's raw food. Now let's, as easily as possible, make that not raw food. That's all. Don't think about recipes. Don't worry about seasonings. Don't stress out about, I have to make the perfect, marinade for this salad or whatever. Just here, raw food and not raw food. And then there it goes in nice glass containers and it's in your fridge. And later on, you can divide it up and put half in the freezer. Now, anytime anybody needs food, you open the fridge door and there is cooked salmon and shredded organic chicken meat and lots of grilled or baked or steamed or sautéed vegetables. And you've got all your different fats. And, sure, now you can add the condiments. The fruit is a condiment. Sage and rosemary, that's a condiment. Hot sauce, olives, all these other things that add taste and color, nuts and seeds and so on. Just that's how you then change the food. Maybe you want to saute that cooked kale, now you want to saute it in garlic oil before you serve it. So to me, this is really helpful. You've got a kind of a pattern of when you're going to eat, and most of the food is already there and ready to go.
Simplifying it makes all the difference. If it's the perfect diet that's overly complex and takes way too much time is going to be a diet that you're not going to keep up with very well. But when it's simple, when it's planned, and when it's thought out a little bit, that just really improves your ability to keep up with it long term. And that's where you're going to see your impact. Now, if somebody wanted to consider supplements that might help support GABA production or might help support healthy GABA levels, what are some of your favorite or go-to supplements that you might recommend or that you might have used in the past?
All right, I'm going to answer that, but I'm going to add something I forgot to say about food, and that is if I was speaking properly and you were listening to what I didn't say, I'm encouraging people to really strongly reduce the carbohydrates in their diet. That we don't, I don't, and encourage any of my clients to eat grains. Humans are not grazers. We're hunters and gatherers. We don't bend over and eat grass. And grains are just grass seeds. They're hard to digest and they're high in calories, and they turn to triglycerides and body fat. And their blood sugar makes us have unstable, more energy, and blood sugar can vary. So by removing a lot of the carbohydrate foods, plates of pasta and bags of corn chips and sweet beverages and whatever, then the proteins, fats, and vegetables and some tubers are so much more satisfying, and the food cravings can really, really be put down. All right, back to GABA. So there are prescription forms of GABA, as I say, that are primarily used for epilepsy, although Depakote and Keppra and Topamax, I was on some of these when I first got diagnosed, but at extremely low doses, like, a 4-year-old. So very, very low doses to get my brain refilled with GABA, if you will, and retrain it to stabilize and have more GABA available. But the other problem with the medical community and the GABA neurotransmitter is that most people know of GABA only as a bad thing. It's the thing that is addictive, like in opioids or OxyContin or heroin or alcohol. All these things attach themselves to the GABA receptor, which is why they're so addictive. It's because it's giving the body some support on their GABA receptors. Then from a medical point of view, they're like, I'm not going to prescribe GABA. Why would I put you on OxyContin? So you have to turn to the non-prescriptive forms. And here's where herbs really shine, and a particular type of GABA. You can go to any drugstore and buy a product with the name GABA on the label. That's not what you want. What you want is something called pharma, like pharmaceutical, PharmaGABA. I have it in my online store, but it is widely available. And this is a fermented form of GABA, so it will cross the blood-brain barrier. Regular over-the-counter GABA at a drugstore will not cross the blood-brain barrier. That's a whole other conversation, as you know, Joshua, about crossing the blood-brain barrier is pretty important. So PharmaGABA, I take it as a chewable right before bed, and it just works terrifically well to help ease me into sleep. But the herbs, so write this down, would be passionflower, valerian, skullcap, California poppy. These are 4 time-honored herbs that you can find anywhere. As with anything else, you want the highest quality you can find. So find out who are the top herbal tincture providers and so on, not just something on the sale shelf at the grocery store. But passionflower, California poppy, valerian, and skullcap. So all of them are calming herbs that do work with the GABA receptor, and also some with the serotonin receptor. and they're calming. So you can take them during the day, you can take them during the night, and you learn how much you need by taking them in certain situations. Maybe before an exam, you might need 1 or 2 squirts of the passionflower and glycerin. That's the way I use it and sell it, is that it's in a sweet base, so you don't have to get up and put it in water in the middle of the night or before an exam at school. So glycerin, and as a base for these herbal tinctures, makes them very easy and convenient to take in the car or anywhere. So those are 4 key herbs, and then the PharmaGABA, and that you can, again, take day or night and just learn how you respond to what dose under what circumstances.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I love some of the things that you've talked about, especially paying attention to actually what's going on and keeping a journal, keeping track of symptoms when they're happening. That really can help you identify problems on your own without needing to spend thousands of dollars on lab testing. Oftentimes, some of the problems that you might experience are way simpler than what you realize. And then you also talked so much about the importance of food and how that's contributing to our health and our brain health, and being satisfied, and our hormones, and the timing of foods can be really important for some people. And the possibility and high likelihood that women are likely under eating. They're not eating enough foods. And so I think that is such a great thing to be thinking about, something for us to consider. And then also the ideas of some of these simple things that you can be doing to support your GABA levels. And as you pointed out, with the stress of life, I think Hans Selye had a wonderful book there, talking about the stress of life. We're all probably deficient. We're all probably lacking, and we could all use a little bit more GABA in our lives. And so thank you for pointing that out. If someone wanted to learn more about you and your work, where's a great place for them to go and connect and learn more about you? And where can they get that free resource that you were talking about?
Yes, I forgot to mention that. So yeah, my website, On Diet and Health, because it's not about just diet or just quote unquote healthcare. It's, to me, they're inseparable, on dietandhealth.com, and the podcast, Primal Diet, Modern Health. In other words, eat how your biology says, that I make these acids, I make these enzymes, I digest this food, I don't digest that food. As I like to tease clients, I say, you're not a koala bear, okay? So, you learn what diet humans are best adapted to eating, and what is just habit and marketing. So you can find me there. There's hundreds of articles and podcasts, and based, like I say, a lot of it on my own history and of working with clients. So there's a lot of data there, but scientifically validated. It's not just musings over a cup of beverage, like a lot of blogs are. They're like, no, it takes me at least 2 weeks to write an article. For that free handout on cooking without recipes, it's wow. Yes, open any article. So go to any article on the website and just open it up. Maybe you want to look at a recipe. Maybe you want to look about testing your thyroid. Maybe you want to look at salivary hormone testing as opposed to blood testing for hormones. It doesn't matter. Just open up any article, go to the very, very bottom of the page, and you should see a nice ebook cover there of cooking without recipes. And it'll say, just give us your name, subscribe to my newsletter, and it'll download right to you. And I won't flood your inbox with with newsletters, but and even if you're already a subscriber, then just resubscribe and get that handout. And my thing, because I'm a non-technical person, is as soon as that download comes in, print it out now, because I have a bad habit of losing things in my download files, and then I can't find them. So if you're like me, just print it out right now. And that's the only cookbook you need, and it'll walk you through the essential piece of cookware that you need to do all that steaming, and how to assign tasks so that you can get a tremendous amount of food done in a couple of hours. And then your fridge is full, and things get back some of that pressure off to come up with something terrific right now. That's my philosophy on life, is let's just take some of the pressure off.
Planning ahead takes pressure off. Wow. I mean, who would have ever realized? Something I still
Yeah.
need to learn. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And thank you so much for giving us so much information and so much wisdom. And we really appreciate your time.
Yes, thanks for having me on. I love to share and my mission to help people. So um, thank you for having me on. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Thanks for tuning in to the Discover Health podcast. Remember, your health is a journey, not a destination. Keep exploring, and we'll see you next week.